Hey, what's up, y'all? Today we're V3ing our timer. I'm having a lot of fun on it. Plus, we left with some issues. There were some things that I couldn't really get out of my mind that were really annoying. One of them was this responsive state here. Look at how it switches. It goes from this nice 3-column layout to a 4-column layout, surprisingly, at one little weird breakpoint. And as we continue shrinking, it's not there. Essentially, what I want to do is get that into a state where it is always 3 columns. And that's tricky because we're using Flexbox. We're using Flexbox to get this nice alignment on the end item. It's something that it's especially good at. Yet it breaks in a weird spot because we're doing something interesting. So we're going to fix that. We're going to adjust some other thing. We're just going to play around. I want to add some like a little bit more tangible animations to it too, because right now they're just very instant. We haven't transitioned anything. So I'm going to see what we can do on this and just play with little things like the centering there bugs me. It's bugged me since the beginning. So we're going to make an offset or do whatever it takes to make that visually centered. It's almost like the box should be in the center. Do you see what I mean here? Like, it's in the center, but I want this arrow to not be so included. So, okay, anyway, let's hack on some of that stuff. The first thing I want to do is, well, also I want to fix that these numbers shift. And I don't think that's right. I think they need to shift at less of a viewport size and more like a size that's applicable for this. So I'm actually going to, let's just do that right away. That H1 that's responding to the font size, I'm just going to get rid of it. No more. Let's stay the larger font size, right? I think that's what we got. Yeah. Oh, is it still shifting? I don't want it. I don't want it. Was that time? If it's greater than, oh, that's what made it bigger. We do want the larger font size always. Huzzah. We did the opposite of what we wanted. Okay, so now no more size adjustment on the timer there. We're going to go in and do something different later because these need a treatment too. So let's go to the number. The num key was adjusting to a slightly larger size on, okay, I'm going to keep that, but let's change it to like 480. I feel like if it's going to do it, it needs to do it earlier. Oh, look, and there's our breaking. And our breaking is related to our font size. So let's actually go eliminate some of our variables. Let's fix the first one. Let's get these at font size 2.5, something that they look pretty good here. I also thought this spacing turned out funny. And I don't like, so here, let's inspect. Our flex we're kind of relying on centering, so justify content. That's taking this whole group, all of the wrapped items and centering them. We have gap, which is coming from a variable. We'll have to check that out. And that's essentially what we're relying on to do our centering, other than we have this width of 5 rem. So eventually at this width of this container, 5 rem is resulting with the gap is resulting in our layout that we want. But here we can see that 5 rem is fitting in fine, even with our gap. So we either need to make a dynamic gap that's sort of like always applying just enough pressure for 3 columns, or we figure out a way for our buttons to be more aware of the container space that they're in and size themselves in a way that fits. And I'm going to do that, but I'm also going to come in here and rely a little less on gap. And I want to do a not justify content center. I want to do justify content space evenly. And let's get to a scenario where that's right. Okay, so see how we fill the space better? We're not relying on gap to sort of push things around. We're actually just distributing. Here, let's go change that right away. We'll get rid of our work that we tried to do last time. And we're going to get rid of the dynamic gap as well right now. Let's cut that out. I don't think it was working. I did like that we had like a different row and a different column gap, so we're going to keep that. And then this is here. We wanted space evenly. And I thought that was really cool to see how that worked in there. All right, we broke some stuff. Let's keep breaking stuff as we sort of reduce some of our baggage here. I think that's all of our baggage. We had some font size adjustments happening, and that's it. Okay, so let's fix our layout. Let's squish and grow. It looks like we're permanently in that, which is good, which means our font, we have a relationship with font size, gap, and the size of our buttons. Those 3 things are adding up to a wishy-washy layout. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the reins a little bit more on this. Our timer here is set to 40 characters, and that's 40 characters of a font size it doesn't control. The font size could be set just before it, and it would be super weird. So let's do 30 or 40 rem. Let's pick a rem unit, something Okay, that was a little much. Let's try 25. I want it to be pretty close to what we had at 40 characters. Okay, 25 rem feels fine. And then I liked that our buttons were sized at this like optimal tap and click size. So I want to keep that. But now that we have this size here, let's stash that. So I'm going to put this as like timer inline size. Great. And then we'll use that here, var timer inline size. And essentially what I want to do is use that as the height and width. So since this is like a decently fixed value, I mean, it's based off the root of the document and its font size, we can rely on that to like chop it up into two pieces and use it in our buttons. Okay, so let's do that. Our num keys are within our buttons. We have our num keypad. We might even want to change our row and our column gaps to be individual things here. We'll see. Okay, and our key size. So let's have our key size here is going to be our var timer inline size divided by 3, pretty much. And that's where we're going to start. I don't know where we're going to end. I know that this is what my mind essentially wants, is I want to take the size of the parent, divide it by 3, you know, and maybe even like do a calc in here where I subtract some of the gap. And that's going to be where that comes in. Okay, so the key gap is yes. Okay, so anyway, we've got our width divided by 3. That might give us like, but well, here we're not even using our value. So we're going to stash it in a value and then use it for our width and our height. So we're kind of trying to like calculate a value that we can use on a height and width so that we get a symmetrical element without doing any like references to percentages, because percentages would not give us what we want. Like if we said this, like the width is 30% of the container, the height and the width would get a different relative value for 30%. So what we're going to do is stick it into a custom property, base it off of something pretty reliable, and then, well, hopefully we can use that as a consistent value here and get something that's similar to an aspect ratio with custom properties. Because we're calculating something, and then we're going to use that as value. Let's just see what we got. Okay, they're too big, and that's probably because our gap here is big. Let's take out our gap. Okay. All right, that makes sense. These are 3 perfect ones, but if I put a gap in here, they go onto a new line. So gap is causing these. That makes sense, right? Okay, we have the width, and we said divided by 3, and so now we have 3 even items inside of there. If we add a gap, well, it's like, well, the new items have to go onto the next row. So what we want to do is we want to include, and this is going to get tricky, so I'm going to do it in DevTools. We have our calc here, calc var timeline. Let's do another custom property. Instead of, because what I'm about to do is overload. Let's do it in here. I'm about to overload. It's okay. I'm about to overload calc, and to save us from the mess, I'm just going to make multiple variables here. So this is going to be like offset timer size, because what I want to do is calc the timer size minus my gap. And what's my gap? My num gap. Oh, look at this. We're going to have to go keypad row gap is, I want that to be the bigger number. And then we have keypad call gap 0.5 rem. Now we'll use these 2 values here. This is going to be keypad row gap and var keypad call gap. And then inside of here, since this is the width, I need to take this minus the keypad column gap. Okay, and that's only for 1, and I have 3. So and when I have 3 elements, there's 2 gaps between them, not including the edges. So we're gonna, I don't know. I just laugh when stuff gets really complicated, because I'm like, this stuff is just so complicated sometimes. Okay, so now what we have is a variable that's been offset by a an estimated amount of gap. It's not even maybe estimated, but we're gonna have to figure out what the perfect set is in here, because also we might be eyeballing some space here in a second. So okay, so offset timer size. Great, so this is our offset size. It has the width minus an attempted gap, then we're dividing that by 3. If I hit save and we set that as our inline size, we should be making smaller buttons that fit into our space, and we don't. They look like huge buttons. Why are they so huge? Apparently we need to subtract more gap here in our offset. So let's do, oh, and we're subtracting var column key, which is 1, right? Oh, that was our, oh, we wanted row gap anyway. Row gap, do I need to multiply this by 3? Because I want, okay, let's try it. Calc times 3. Okay, so now we've got a calc and a calc, and we have a layout that looks decent. Just give it a quick squeezy expando. Seems to be resilient to our changes. Our keypad looks too skinny or too thin, or that's because there's too much space vertically. Our buttons are huge. We got to fix our buttons. Okay, so our buttons are really big, and I think we want more gap. Can we just go multiply that value by more? Oh man, this is getting ugly. Okay, let's pull this out, because these just get so hard to read. Calc var, so this is our calc, and we'll even here var multiplied gap, and we're gonna make another one here called multiplied gap. Set that to here, and then we're gonna have like a spacing multiplier, whatever. I'm gonna set it to 6 because I want to use that here. So var spacing multiplier. I'm gonna have a typo somewhere. I'm feeling it. Okay, if I save, we essentially did not adjust anything. So I'm hoping that this becomes just like I can squeeze the buttons smaller and smaller. I can. 7, why is 7 so nice? 8 goes too far. Okay, look at that though. I can see them growing, and the spacing evenly is working really nice. I want the buttons to be as small as they can, but still in 3 columns. I think that's a pretty fair estimate. And look, I made a mistake in my columns and rows. We have more column gap than we do row gap right now. And that means this, does it columns and then rows? Oh, it must be. Okay, and then we still have this at 7, or is it set? Okay, 6. 6. Okay, 6 is good. 6 makes sense, because if we have 3 and they each have a side, and we kind of like, oh, I really only see 4 gaps there. You see what I mean? Like, oh, here, pause, keep it, stay. Whatever. There's there were 4 spaces between there. 1, 2, 3, 4. I see like 2 on the edge and then 2 in between. So for some reason 6 is just like helping us there in a healthy way. And look, we lost entirely our row gap. Oh, we lost our row gap entirely. Let's check. So this is supposed to be our row gap. It is now our column gap. So this was right. Okay, let's go back to here. That was right. There's our gap. Here's our row gap. It's still behaving like our, oh wait, no, that's our row gap. Oh, but we're using our row gap to do our multiplier. We really need to be using our column gap. Okay, so here, column gap. In our equation, we were using the wrong one, because we wanted, oh, maybe not. Oh, it's col gap. That's just a typo. Okay. Oh man, they're huge still. We got some work to do. Okay, so our buttons are being sized with our nice little set of custom properties, which are calculating that this is the optimal size. But I doubt it. And why is spacing 6? Is 12 going to be good now? Because the spacing multiplier is taking the column gap that we want, which is quite small. So maybe if I up this, I can use less on the multiplier. Okay, so I saw them spread out and our buttons that look smaller. So, okay, column gap 1.5 rem, and let's drop this to 3. They pushed a little further out to the side. They're still really big. I think that the when I shrink my multiplier, I essentially, there we go. 6. Okay, 6. I'm happy putting 6 in there. It seems like a reasonable number for 3 columns. Those buttons look better sized. We're distributed. We still have a lot of column gap, but that's okay because we're fitting into the space here. As long as this is responsive right now, I'm happy with that solution. And curious, if I change the width here, we broke. But we're breaking for a different reason. We're breaking because something, and it looks like this element, is requiring too much width. Like here, I'll just delete it. Yep. But this is concerning that as I go down in these numbers, and I wonder if that's because, yeah, if we have the multiplier at 3, we're essentially articulating it closer to a gap. It's not doubled. I don't want to change that value in a custom property to be responsive, or in a media query. But here, let's change our timer. But see, I do like knowing that that scales so well. And what happened? So if we refresh, what was the idea? The idea was that we wanted those to be smaller, so we were adjusting that. Let's get back into our multiplier. Let's put that back at 3 and see if we can get our size back to what we want. So we have our multiplier. That's because we're taking the current column gap. So let's just increase column gap. That make our button smaller? I think so. And the question is does it make the button smaller without actually encroaching or changing the layout at all? It does. Okay. I think what we have found here is a very interesting Flexbox layout. It's equal columns with equal height rows, with the floating last item is centered, and then we're spacing evenly, and we're using our column gap and column rows as kind of like tricky pressures that are being applied on the, they're not pressures, they're just part of the calculation, but we're kind of using them like a pressure. It's like gap will consume into the space that was this button. That's not how gap always works. And that's what we wanted. So we wanted to include it in our column layout, and this is how we pulled it off. That's really interesting. That's a lot of custom properties to get the job done, but when you set it like this, it's not really that, it's not that crazy. Key size, right? Key size is kind of fun. Offset timer size divided by 3. We wanted 3 columns. If I wanted 2, I should be able to just do some simple math here. Okay, what did we like? We liked 2 and 4 on our gaps. Oh yeah, this needs to be 3. I'm like, what? What happened? Okay. And let's tap through those buttons. Those look better. They might be too small. Let's do 3. There we go. I like it better. Okay. Oh man. There was task 1. Let's make that fade out. That's something I wanted to do. I think our calculator is still a little thin. Yeah, I'm going to make it a little wider. And now I should be able to make it wider without any, it's no big deal. Here's 30 rem. Yeah. That's funny. It felt like it just got taller more than it did wider. The buttons certainly got larger. Oh no, I don't want to, okay, I don't want to, let's move on. I don't need to hit on that anymore. I did want to see if like a gradient worked good on the background here. So we can take here's our background not surface. Maybe we'll make a calc out of this if we like it, but we'll do linear gradient to bottom. We'll go from our color to our color, but this time we're just gonna like drop that. Here we go. So it's at 12%, and then you can just knock it down like 2 or 3. And it's just a really subtle little change on there. It unflattens it and also makes the contrast on the play button look really cool. And it makes our little highlight here kind of neat. Okay, whatever. I'm just gonna not do that. It's not matching it's a great design. Let's do this one though, because what I want to happen here with these buttons is I want to click and instantly see it, but when I let go, I want it to fade out. That's what I thought would be nice. So this is going to be on our keypad button when it's active. I think what I want to do, so it's like when it's active, when it's transitioning from active to not active, I want it to transition. I don't want it to transition from inactive to active because I want this like fade out effect. So I'm hoping if I just put it here, that it'll only apply the styles here when it's active, and then when it's not active, it'll disappear slowly. So we'll say, just for the sake of our test here, 0.5 seconds, ease, we need to say what's transitioning. This is our background color, right? That's what we're doing to fill on press? Where are we filling on press? Is it part of a button? Let's see. Hover, active. We have a num key active. Num key active background. Did I just like look right past that? Wow, Adam. Oh, wow. That's embarrassing. Okay, let's just try that. Save. We don't need that on anymore. And oh, look, I got the opposite result. When I click, it fades in. So what we want to do is this. Sure. I like them to be somewhere down at the bottom sometimes. Okay, click. Oh, it's still like a click fade in, but now it's fading in and fading out. So let's see, do I want to set it to transition none then when it's active? Let's see, okay. Instant click, fade out. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, let's change it to 0.5. I want it to be kind of drawn out because one of the ideas I think would be cool is, yeah, do you see it ghost away? It's like it leaves a little bit of itself there, and I think that'd be fun if you're on mobile. Why is this one stuck? I think we broke Chrome. And then the border stays. See, I think that's cool. It's like it was steamy, and when you touched it, you made the steam from your finger, and then it just kind of fades away, but it leaves the outline of your interaction. Cool. Okay. I also want to change some of the color. We have a brand color, right? Let's change our focus and highlight colors to match that a little bit better. So we have like outline, style. We don't need to change that, do we? Let's do outline, color, var, brand 1. I think was that our color? Should know pretty quick here. I think I saw our color on there. Hover, focus. That looks like it's taking our color, but it's awkward. Border style, solid. Border width 3 pixels. So it's like oh, that's border. I want outline. Outline style. Aha. Okay. So what we're doing is we were competing with the browser built-ins, and now we're not. And that gives us a branded focus ring, which looks nice. Okay. I did like how, I don't know if you all saw my tweet, but Safari's is rounded. It looks really nice. Okay, let's take those styles and just bring them over. Outline color up. These are what we're looking for. Okay. We really should do this on like all of our buttons. Num keys are buttons, right? Our icons are also buttons. They're not buttons. They're just, they are buttons. So let's put this on all of our buttons instead of a num key specifically. I think that's the same for background. Maybe not. So here we'll take this. We'll get rid of this part and just add this to all of our buttons. There's probably more in this design so far that we can do this to. Take out the border, save. Now we should see that across those as well. Yeah, awesome. And I think I can bring a little Safari over, just show you kind of what I mean. Oh, right, Safari has no gap. So even though we're trying to calculate a gap in here, it's not going to work. Oh, and look, since we took over the style, we lost the good roundiness. Let's see. Go away. Yeah, look, the cool round is back. It was gone because we overrode it. So wait, what's the property then that I need to do an outline? I have no idea. Looks like by adding these, I lost some of the power. So let's do the color. Oh, we like the offset. We like the color. Let's not do the width or the style and see what happens. Okay, now we get it back. We don't get the color to, why? I don't care. Let's see. And how's this one doing? Okay, I like that the request is there, and whether or not it applies, we're just gonna let the browser, and the user's gonna expect the browser's behavior more than they're expecting whatever cool thing we're doing. Okay. All right, what are some of the other changes I wanted to make here? I have a note on, oh, okay, we need to make sure that as these numbers change, we're not gonna cause a relayout. And so the way that we can change that is like, let's whip out Fizzbug and just edit a number here and see how everything's shifted. See how everything's shifting? Oh, there's a lot of dependency on the size of this, and that is not good. I think that's high impact. Let's fix it. Okay, so Fizzbug has shown us that there's an issue here. We should be able to fix this with some kind of clever grid layout though. Grid is a really great way to prevent layout shift because, well, you create a grid, you draw explicit boxes, and then you say, hey, Steph, you're gonna fit in here or else. Our time is a grid. Our time is a flex. Okay, and what is each flex item? Time span, it's its own flex. They're aligning baseline, which is really nice because we have child elements in there. Okay, we have a gap. The gap is part of what's creating so much width. We need each span. Let's just try it here. The time span, flex. We don't want to use basis because if we use basis, it's still a request for a size. It's not really a size. So let's do like inline size of 2.5 characters. I saw a very little shift in there, and I'm just estimating because here's 2 characters. This is going to be contextual to the current font size. 2 characters is here. This looks like a half character, and we barely shifted. If I look, we are slightly. Oh, look, we're harming. Oh, 'cause it's a nested flex. That's no big deal. There's a little fraction of something there though. Do you see it? I don't know if it's a DevTools thing, but it almost looks like there's like a node that's lingering on the end there. Maybe it's like a tiny amount of gap. I don't know because it's not showing up here. So it's only part of this one, the small. Okay, well, whatever. Maybe we'll check that out. Here's our new layout and we can try changing some text and see how it goes. I can click 100 times. Let's go 0. Okay. What we did, we prevented the layout shift, but we have a new problem, and we should probably go put these styles into our layout here. So this is our key. This is our time element that we're dealing with right now, right? Yeah, time element. Where are you? You are here, and your children we set as a inline size. Yeah, so we were very explicit about their size. We said inline size. This isn't min or max. This is specifically 2.5 characters. So we're willing to take upon ourselves the extra work it's going to mean when things start to overflow our space. We're going to have to deal with wrapping now. We've set an explicit width or height. We must be prepared for wrapping. And we have justified content space around in here. And that's pushing the containers themselves to the edges. But what we want is, oh, it looks like 2.5 is just a little small. That's what we're seeing. I wonder if that'll affect us later. We'll see. Okay, we need to align the items inside. So what we can do is That's, I think, our child flex space, because see, it's still spanning the whole box that's provided, which means we could say justify content end or flex end. Yes, because flex end would be the end of the flex space, which is, it's fine. Are we done? Maybe. Let's see. Take the flex end, and we are aligning these child flexes that way. Yeah, so that like they're vertically aligned baseline, but they themselves are aligned to the end of their box container. Great. Now we just need to kind of change some numbers. We could do it a little bit more fun. So I just hit Command-Shift-C to select that and hit Escape to see our DevTools. If I pop in here and hit $0, you can see the DevTools references the node, and you can see that I use this all the time. References the node that's selected, and we can say text content is equal to OD. Let's see if this works. It blew away the small. We might have to be like 0 dot text content. Isn't that what I just did? Yeah. Oh, but this has now been replaced. The meaning that it's not the same text. See, look, see how there's like new character returns in there? And there's probably a small. We want the node, we want to go through children, but we want child nodes because nodes are different than elements. Aha, do you see the text node in there? We want the first child, which is that text specifically, and then we can say text content is equal to 0, here, 10 minutes. Yeah, okay, how about 40 minutes? Yeah, now we can just quickly test our stuff here, and we should be able to select this one and just say, yeah, yeah, I have the power. Okay, our numbers are shifting, and it's all good. We could even write a little loop in here to kind of go over those and change them if we wanted to watch them go. And I don't care. Actually, I do. Set interval. It sounds like fun. Set interval. Okay, our callback is going to be, oh, can I use DevTools $0? I bet I could. Let's try it. $0 text node is equal to math.random. Random. That's fine for now. And that was our function. And now we will say how often to do it. Sure, every 100 milliseconds. Yeah, it's like, what is 0? So here, we'll refresh the page. Let's grab this element. Make sure our command works. It does. Get into our interval. And we're going to say, oh, here, let's not do our interval yet. We'll set a var. I think the var will work. Now let's just not do the var. We can just target it. Document dot query selector, and in here we want time. Oh, how are we going to select the text node from? Oh, it doesn't matter. We just need time span first child. It would have found the first child anyway, but I'm going to put it in there. Oh, and it looks like we need to do a math. How do you round 1 to 2 characters? I can't remember. Anyway, that's fun. It's not very helpful right now, but that's cool. All right, whatever. Was there anything else in my notes here? I think the last thing was I didn't like how much space was here. Almost like I wanted the HR to subsume some of its space. Where's the HR? Here's the HR. Oh, good. We have it directly owned by the timer, so I'm not going to feel very bad about this. Margin block Ned. That was a pretty funny typo. I don't know if you saw it. Margin block has been negative. What's our gap? Our gap is 3 rem. Let's just do -1 rem, which is like -1/3. It pulled it in a little bit closer, and that's the subtleness I was looking for. Although we could do margin block. Let's do negative on the top and the bottom with a shortcut. Didn't do anything. No, why? Hey, look, it's here. Margin top, margin bottom. Oh, I need to go here. I'm just gonna do this right now. Post CSS config, take my staging. Oh, I need it for this particular, oh, wrong project. Post CSS config, I need to set features to say, oh, what was it? I just changed it recently. I'm gonna find it here. Oh, here. I want this. Oh, one more. Yeah. All right. And then let's end our. Oh, logical properties and values false. It doesn't like. Oh, it needs a comma. Perfect. And I'm going to take this with me over here as well. And it looks like my bundle's already updated. So if I refresh, are we seeing margin block? Yes. Okay. So what I did is, I don't know if you've seen in some of the other videos, Post CSS is trying to do me a favor by rewriting all of my logical properties to physical properties. I don't really want that right now. I would like to see my logical properties, and here they are. So now they're back because I said, hey, those logical properties and values plugin that comes with preset env, that's the one I don't want to use. I'm going to use like the other 20. That one I don't want. I'm kind of in a phase of my prototyping right now where I like to keep the logical props in there. And here's our margin block, -1 rem, and we can see that it is taking space from top and bottom. No, only from bottom. It almost looks like the space it's taking from the top, it's giving back to the bottom. So that was not very helpful. We'll just do margin block end. Okay, great. And let's do one more try. I want to try focus visible, or not focus visible, maybe focus visible, yeah, on our buttons. So if matches, so if it's a button and it's not focus visible, and it matches focus or hover, then show the outline. I'm using my keyboard very explicitly, so now I'm clicking and I'm still getting them. Let's see. I think we have tools for this now, so we can go focus visible. And focus visible is a heuristic that the browser is trying to decide whether or not this visitor needs to see a focus ring or not. Here, let's just say if they do want focus visible, I don't know, it looks like my offset is gone also. Did we take that away? Oh, we're not matching. Okay, so we're there's a trick in here somewhere if you're really picky about your focus rings, that you can make them not show up on a key, like on a mouse when they click, or at least in each browser they'll make its best decision. Maybe that's a video for another time. I'll have to check out those buttons some more. Okay, what did we do? We have made this a little bit better. It's more reliable in terms of its sizing. It's quite fixed though. Look at that. It is not flexible, is it? And if we set the whole container to be here, let's see. Oh, yep. I'm just gonna refresh. I think we want. Let's try clamp. So a minimum of 15 characters. Sure. We just don't want it to go super small. Optimally be this timer inline size, but allow yourself to grow to 100%. Okay. I think that's it, growing to 100%. That's not shrinking at all. Is it because we set a max? We set a max, but we don't set a min. I think it's this layout right here, since it doesn't wrap. Hell, let's just drop it. I think it's the problem. Yeah. Although look, our layout didn't stay. It breaks down. I wonder if that's because our clamp kicks in a percentage, and a percentage can't be resolved as easily for the other buttons. This is a max too. What if we set inline? Nah, it doesn't matter at this point. Okay, well, look at how much work this layout has been. Layouts are not easy. I'm a little surprised but happy that we solved this one. But sorry, these videos are so long on this process. This is not necessarily the easiest thing to do. And I like working towards these solutions and kind of feeling out all these trade-offs as we get there. I hope this is interesting, and I'll see you on the next video as we hack on something fresh probably. I think the timer is a little worn out, and we've learned what we're going to learn from it for right now in terms of layout. So maybe we'll revisit it and turn it into a real one. We'll see. Take care, and until next time, bye-bye.